Happy Saturday, folks. Welcome back to Injection of Inspiration, where every single Saturday right here on the show, I, Graham G.S. Matthews, inject you with your daily dose of motivational advice, helpful tips, and all that other great shit. Hope you guys are doing well. Much like the past 2 weeks, I got another quote where I found online. I have no idea where it came from. I actually have a document of all these great inspirational quotes. I have no idea where they came from. I just found them and looking through all this other whenever I encounter a great inspirational quote, I'll write it down. Sometimes I don't always write down where it came from or who said it. So you can do that yourself. I'm a bit lazy, so just type in the quote. I'm sure you can find it online or Google or whatever. But here's the quote that I want to talk about for today's topic, today's video. A mistake is always forgivable, rarely excusable, and always unacceptable. Now, I think I've talked about failure before, and failure is fine. I mean, it depends your definition of what the word failure is, what your definition of failure is. If you are unsuccessful in your efforts to do something, it's not the end of the world. You still have the rest of your life to do that. Unless you're fucking dead, unless you're in the ground and you're unable to live, then you're still always going to have another opportunity to succeed at that goal. If not that goal, then another goal, and a million other goals. So never think your life is over because you felt you were a failure at something. And just because someone calls you a failure doesn't mean you are a failure. And even just because you feel like a failure doesn't mean you're necessarily a failure. You're a failure if you're not trying. That's what makes you a failure. A mistake is a bit different. We all make mistakes. We've heard that all a million fucking times before. But the key words there, dissect that quote. Always unacceptable. So I'm not saying you should make mistakes on purpose, but it's going to happen. It's inevitable, but it's unacceptable. Rarely excusable. So don't make excuses for mistakes that you make. I mean, it happened for a reason. You did it at the time, whether it was intentional or not. You did it for a reason. So never make excuses for anything you did. Just own up to it. Be responsible. Own your responsibilities, and just accept when you made the mistake. But like I said, always forgivable, or as the quote said, whatever. Every mistake is forgivable. I mean, we might be going a bit too far with like murder and rape and shit like that, which is absolutely terrible. I'm not going to go that far. But just minor mistakes and stuff like that. I'm not saying you should forgive someone for making the same mistake intentionally over and over, such as cheating, and your significant other is cheating on you multiple times, or someone keeps on making the same mistake over and over and over and over. That's a bit different. That's when some interference should be made. There should be some sort of intervention. But if it's just one mistake, again, I'm not saying it's acceptable. Like I said, it's always unacceptable. But take responsibility for your actions. Know where you went wrong, and just ensure that it never happens again. I've told people multiple times, don't tell me that you're sorry. I mean, I appreciate that you're sorry, but don't be fucking sorry. Just don't do it. Don't be sorry. Be responsible, is my quote. And I'm sure that's been said a million times. I know I've heard that elsewhere before, but don't be sorry. I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, I get it. You could say it once. I appreciate that. If you don't say sorry, that's a problem. If you don't feel sorry, don't say sorry if you're not sorry. Okay, but above all else, just be responsible. Don't let it happen again. Everyone makes mistakes. Again, I fucked up before. I didn't know what I was doing. Say if it's like a minor thing, if it's at school or work or whatever, you do things unintentionally. Oh, I didn't know that was the way you were supposed to be done. You fucked up. Whatever. Apologize. Just don't do it that way again. That's what life is for, to make mistakes, learn from said mistakes, and do it the right way next time until you're, okay, maybe not a perfect person, but you know what's right and what's wrong. I mean, I think the first step in knowing, again, you're never going to know everything in this universe and everything in life, but I think my philosophy has always been, in order to obtain the best wisdom and knowledge possible, is to know what you know and also know what you don't know. Okay, so you can further explore that and find out what to know. And that's pretty confusing. I confused myself there for a second, but just know that everything is forgivable. You fuck up once, it's not the end of the world. If someone won't forgive you, I mean, forgive and forget is my thing. I've known people, a friend of mine I had in college would just not forgive people, and he wouldn't forget about it, or he would forgive and not forget, and and that's fine. I have the type of memory where it's hard to forget things, but I always forgive. To always hate people and have this, hold grudges and have hatred towards people is just holding you back from fulfilling your full potential and being happy. And just having that lingering over you for what? For that internal pride, to be stubborn. Like, what's the reason in holding that back? Again, if someone makes the same mistake countless times, I'm not saying in order to forgive them, you need to accept them back into your life and be friends again, family again, whatever. you can forgive someone for doing something. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to associate yourself with said person, beyond that point. That's up to you. That's completely up to your judgment and up to your own actions. That's, completely your option. But you should feel the need to forgive them and just allow them to move on so you can move on as well. And just don't worry about it. Holding grudges, and again, I've known people who hold grudges and feel hatred towards people and don't forgive them. It's like, for fucking what? And if they've moved on with their life, the person that made the mistake moved on with their life, then you should too. And even if you're the person that made the mistake and you still feel bad, do everything you can to allow them to forgive you. And even if they don't, at least know that you did what you could to see if you can mend that bridge and allow them to forgive you. Don't feel the need to have that hold that over your head until the day they forgive you. It's like, if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. That's beyond your control. You've done everything you can. Now it's time to move on with your life. So again, great quote. I'll repeat it once more. A mistake is always forgivable, rarely excusable, and always unacceptable. So breaking down each of those three things, the three things at the end there. Unacceptable, again, mistakes aren't great, but a lot like failure, you learn from them so you can move on to achieve greater things in life. So never think that because of one mistake, your life is over. Again, murder, rape, that kind of shit, that's almost unacceptable. I mean, that's obviously always unacceptable. Every mistake is unacceptable, like I said, but that's a bit harder to come back from. But again, until the day that you're dead, you can always try to redeem yourself and live a better life and shit like that. That shit will never be forgotten for the most part. Forgive and forget, that forget part, it's a bit hard to do that unless you have one of those memory eraser things from Men in Black. But forgiving is always anything is forgivable, especially small mistakes. Bigger ones is a bit that's up to judgment. That's up to everyone's own opinion. That's for them to kind of decide for themselves. But always forgivable, unacceptable, but rarely excusable. Never make excuses. Excuse me. Like, I just made an excuse for myself. I made a mistake and I tried to excuse myself. I'm not going to do that again. I'll try not to. But again, that was funny how that worked out. But don't make excuses. Just own up for your actions. Say you fucked up and move on. Again, it's going to happen time and time again. The more times it's happened, the more times something happens, the harder it is to excuse it. I understand that. But don't, use excuses. Just take responsibility and just own up to your actions. You did it for a reason, obviously, at that point in time, whether it was intentional or not. And it happened. There's no going back and erasing it, so you might as well own up to it and just move on. So that's it, guys, for today's Injection of Inspiration video. I appreciate your time, taking the time out of your day to check out this video. It means the world to me. Be sure to drop a like, a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for daily content. And until next Saturday, when an all-new episode of Injection of Inspiration goes up, have yourself an awesome fucking weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.